They help the body clear excess estrogen from the body and keep normal estrogen ratios. As men, we have a little bit of estrogen. We need that. We need that, believe it or not, in the muscle building process. But this is going to help clear any excess estrogen. And even for those that are not doing chemical enhancement, you want to keep estrogen at a minimum, just enough for you to maintain health, but not so much that you'll have a hard time losing body fat with excess estrogen. So that's why I take that. Here's one thing that I'm not going to take now, but I do feel the need to talk about it. It's called Zypan. It's nothing more than betaine hydrochloride, so hydrochloric acid, with some enzymes, pancreatic enzymes. So why do I take this? Because I want to get the most out of my meats, my proteins. This helps break down proteins. It helps also in the breakdown of carbohydrates and fats. So basically, it helps my digestion. This is a very important tool. When you're overtraining or close to overtraining, you're in sympathetic dominance all the time. That means the sympathetic part of your nervous system is turned on, and when you've got that turned on all the time, digestion is a hard thing to have work the right way. So I take this, and I've noticed a huge difference from taking this. Let's see. I take also, with my more fatty meals, I take choline, which is like a kind of a liver detergent, but it also helps in reducing the surface tension of fats, so they're broken down a lot easier. It's very important because right now that's my main fuel source, so I need to break down fats well. So I've got that with my meals that are a little higher in carbohydrates. Skipping here a couple, I take echinacea every day. You might wonder, what does that have to do with bodybuilding? I thought that was for your immune system. You know that one of the first places, or one of the first systems that gets tapped from exercise is the nervous system, but second is the immune system. So with echinacea, I'm supporting the immune system on a daily basis. There's a myth that echinacea will kind of, it's not something you want to do short term, not long term, because it'll reduce the ability of your own immune system. That's not true. Echinacea works on your innate immune system, not your acquired. So you'll be able to take echinacea long term, and I do. Getting sick, which is so easy to do with a 5-year-old, and just working out in the gym, one of the dirtiest places you could ever be. I'm exposed to a lot, so I need to keep my immune system healthy. It's not something that most bodybuilders think about. But man, you talk to a lot of bodybuilders, you hear about how they got food poisoning the day before a show and looked terrible and lost because they were sick. I'm not going to take that chance, so I take immune support from the very beginning. Here's another thing that I take that would help a lot of you bodybuilders out there that are really working hard to compete. St. John's wort, and you wonder, what? I thought that's for depression. When you're reducing calories and you're pushing and pushing and pushing and trying to keep with everyday life, sometimes you get so tired. Those symptoms are very similar to being depressed. St. John's wort helps you keep a steady mood. There's more that St. John's wort helps with that I think is also beneficial. It helps in clearing the liver. That's why it's so contraindicated with so many drugs. So St. John's wort is going to be a great thing for you, not only to keep your liver clean as you're preparing for a show, but also St. John's wort is going to help keep your mood stable. If you keep your mood stable, those times when you just feel like you have to cheat because mentally you're just exhausted and you need that break. St. John's wort has helped me a lot with that. Years ago I used to give into that, and I think this is part of the success that I've had. Sticking to my diet. Here's another product that I think is really good, Gymnema. Gymnema stands for, in Ayurvedic, the sugar destroyer. The funny thing about Gymnema is that if you take this tablet and you were to cut it in half, break it in half and put it under your tongue, what you'll find is that after 5 minutes of that, you will not be able to taste anything sweet. Gymnema, at a superficial level, totally anesthetizes the taste buds for sugar. So, I'll have some friends sometimes do this little, if you will, party trick. I'll have some chocolate for them, I'll have them put this in their mouth first and then lay out a bunch of chocolate. And I'm like, go at it. And, you know, after a couple minutes, it tastes like wax to them. And they wonder, what did you do to us? What kind of chocolate is this? And it's not. It's just that gymnema, as I said, it anesthetizes the taste buds for sugar. But the reason I take it is because it helps in maintaining sugar levels. That is key. If you can't maintain sugar levels, you're going to be starving all the time. You're going to want to cheat all the time. You're always going to be thinking about that thing you wish you could be eating. I don't have time for that. And there's too much, you know, that I've already invested to be, you know, cheating. One day when I come home and I'm just starving. So gymnema helps, if you will, it's kind of an appetite suppressant in that way, but more than anything, it helps with sugar levels. Another thing I find that's very interesting about gymnema is that it helps in glycogen stores. The more sugar your body can handle, the more you'll store as glycogen. So when I start pumping up before a show, or even while I'm working out, I get a lot fuller. Because when there's enough glycogen in a muscle, it pulls water into it when you start warming up, and you start feeling, I mean, a really good pump. So that's what I take gymnema for. Here's the last one. I don't bore you guys too much, but as you can see, I could talk for hours on this. I take iodine. Iodine is very, very important. I actually already took this morning, but iodine is very important for several reasons. There's a lot of research suggesting it helps prevent cancer. Iodine helps in a process called apoptosis. Apoptosis is programmed cell death. You might be thinking, why is that important? Well, we want cells that have lived the time span that they are supposed to live to die, and that's apoptosis. We don't want them to keep growing and multiplying, and that's what we call cancer. So iodine is very helpful in that. Not only that, it helps the thyroid. It helps the thyroid function the way it needs to function so we can keep our metabolic rate up. I can go into details with that, but no, I mean, that's kind of an oversimplification, but that's all you really need to know. Iodine is essential for the thyroid, which keeps our metabolic rate, which keeps you losing body fat. And then lastly, iodine is very important for skin health. And again, you know, the big focus I mentioned before, coconut oil, it's the way your skin looks is very important when you're on stage. For women, by the way, iodine is very important for breast health. The breasts use more iodine than even the thyroid. So little clinical pearl there, or nutritional pearl, if you will, that might be useful. So that's, you know, for now, that's a good amount of what I take. So people ask me, you take all of that together? No, I take it pretty much as much as I can kind of put in the palm of my hand. And then I'll until I'm done. So this is the second handful. I'll be able to get it all in this one. I'm not scared of swallowing. You see, I'm not scared of swallowing pills. So. But, you know, I gotta say, these aren't pills. Remember how I talked about these are whole food based supplements. So when I take all those pills, I don't want to freak anyone out. These aren't chemicals. You should be concerned about taking a lot of pills. What you don't need to be concerned about is taking a lot of whole food supplements. You can't do any harm with that. So I know that seems like a lot, but that's what I do. I'm going to finish off with this. You can see here a gallon of water. And you've probably seen people at the gym with this and you think, oh, that's kind of silly. It's essential for me because this is how by drinking straight out of the gallon, I track how much water I'm taking in a day. I think that most people are chronically dehydrated. I promise you that if you go into the gym in a dehydrated state versus a very hydrated state, your workouts will be totally different. I promise. So take my challenge and set yourself a goal of, for you women, set yourself a goal of drinking about a gallon, or maybe 3/4 of a gallon. Men, try 2 gallons in a day. And you'll notice that even though you start to pee a lot more, you'll notice that your workouts are a lot better. You'll find you're stronger, your joints feel more stable. So water is huge for me. I always have it near my supplements because here's where I drink a lot of my water. You know, usually I'll take a bunch of supplements, drink some water, take more supplements, drink some water, and then drink some water some more. So I go through a bunch of water. So I'm right now, my goal is about 2 gallons. I just started my contest prep as I'm 12 weeks out. So that'll, in the end, I'll definitely be at 2 gallons and then working it up to 3 gallons as I go into the show. Like I said, at first you start peeing a lot more, but then that kind of levels out. So that is, in a nutshell, my supplements. There's a few more that we'll go over as you know, the opportunities present themselves. But this is what I take. This is what makes a difference for me. But most of all, this is what keeps me healthy. You see a lot of people taking, competing, and they're, you know, they do it for a couple of years and then they're done. You know, I've been competing since 2002. Granted, I never did very well. More on that later, but I attribute this. You know, I'm 36 years old. I attribute being a competitive bodybuilder at the local level with my supplement use. You know, whole food based supplement use. So this is I think where it's at. Food is where it's at. Don't ever fall for that whole thing about, oh, you know, if I just find the right supplement protocol, I'll be okay. No, food is where it's at. You know, I don't just take this, by the way. You know, I have a good diet, and this is just that supplementing my diet. So this is what I've got. This is what makes me me and helps me compete.